Welcome to the Seahawkers podcast with your hosts, Adam Emmert.
Yeah, goes 6-2 at home, but loses every single road game.
And Brandon Schultz.
You think that's what they put on the injury report? Injured and then like in parentheses, karma?
Go Hawks!
This is the Seahawkers podcast, episode 250. I'm Brandon Schultz of the Military Seahawkers, and joining me, my good buddy and Montana Seahawker, Adam Emmert.
Funny thing is, if you hadn't just mentioned it, I didn't even know we were in the 200s, let alone the episode 250. I had no idea.
It's a huge milestone, and one that we've been leading up to and preparing for, and this is going to be just one of the more amazing shows because it is such a milestone.
Oh, absolutely. It's such a milestone during such an important time of the year. But look, I'm here. I'm ready to do this. There are actually a couple things we get to talk about, so that'll be fun.
Yeah.
It's nice just to sit down with you for a minute.
There's a few things.
Yeah.
Well, really, the biggest thing is it's the first week of OTAs for the Seahawks. It just finished up. You know, they had 3 days where they all get out on the field. They run around, not really in pads, but you get to see our guys out on the field. The rookies are out there, too. Everybody's together. And it kind of feels like the very beginning of the 2019 season. It
really does. And I have a question for you because I didn't know, and I haven't even looked it up, but is OTAs like organized team activities?
You nailed it, dude. It's like one of those acronyms that just makes sense.
Okay. I didn't know. I was thinking about it earlier today. I was like, oh, they're at OTAs today. And I was like, well, what the hell does that even mean?
I had that same exact thought, and I actually looked it up because I thought maybe they would throw it off and it'd be like organized training attempts or something really weird. But no, it's one that stands for exactly what it is.
Okay, cool. Thanks, NFL.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're at OTAs. Are the teams all together? It does feel like the beginning of the season in a lot of ways. And it is time to start getting excited for this upcoming season. And one of the things that is exciting in its own way, even though it's got some people up in arms, is Bobby Wagner's contract situation. But the exciting part is he is present.
Yes, he's present. They're talking and they're not saying a whole lot, which is, it's not unusual.
And that seems like a good thing.
As Bobby Wagner pointed out, and it does seem like a good thing, but as Bobby was pointing out, his contract, his last extension didn't get done until August anyway. So it kind of feels, and just even seeing Pete Carroll in the press conferences, Bobby Wagner in the press conferences, it sounds like everybody's good.
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be a lot of stress about this among the key players, right? Be Bobby or John Schneider or Pete Carroll. They all are like, yeah, we're working on it, guys. Just relax. And, Bobby's doing the exact right thing. He's showing up for OTAs. He's there for his teammates to help them with the mental side of things and all that. But he's protecting his body while he's renegotiating his contract and not participating. And that is the most professional way that you could possibly go about it. It really is.
Yeah, you're there. And Bobby Wagner in his press conferences, he made it very clear, and the team knows where he's at. He's like, the reporters asked him several times the status of his participation, the substance of Bobby Wagner's involvement. Mm-hmm. He's here, and you see the videos, and he's out, and he's participating in terms of mentoring and being there for guys. But he's just not doing the on field stuff. And being an 8-year veteran, I mean, really, is that big of a deal?
I don't know, man. This could totally submarine Bobby Wagner's season. He could become a shell of himself as a player,
right?
Because he wasn't participating in OTAs.
Well, he's participating, but maybe not to the full extent of participation.
Not physically participating,
right? Just mentally.
Yeah. Did we parse that out well enough for everybody?
Well, see, I've seen a lot of articles saying that Bobby Wagner's skipping OTAs. And I feel like skipping is not very accurate. Like,
no, that's false because he's present.
Right. I can't skip class if I'm actually in class.
Right.
Like, I might not be trying.
Yeah, you may not participate in the class when you're there, but you are present.
Right. Yeah, if the teacher calls on me and I choose not to answer, I'm not skipping class. I'm just choosing not to participate.
Until you get paid. This is how you should approach school, everybody. If you're in school right now, I want you to hold out of your classes. Show up, but hold out in the sense that you don't do any of the work, you don't answer any of the questions until they show you the green.
Until you pay me.
That's right. Show me the Benjamins, and then I'll do your stupid homework and answer your dumb questions.
Well, in college, going to college, it kind of makes sense that way, right? Like, I pay my money. You perform for me. Don't ask me to do anything extra.
Oh my gosh. So this was probably my biggest problem of going to college, was the fact that most of the teachers didn't seem to understand that they were my employee.
Right.
Like they didn't get that. And so like I'd show up to these classes and they'd be like, we're going to grade on attendance. I was like, that's cute, but we're not doing that.
Right.
Just so you know, we're not grading on attendance. If I don't need to be here for every single class to get my token B, if I'm smart enough to get through your class without doing that, then that's all I need to get out of this, because I'm paying you to get what I need out of your class. Understand?
Yeah. That makes so much sense to me.
Yeah, I didn't lose many of those arguments. Let's just put it that way.
Oh, that's good.
I showed up when I wanted.
If I need a mental health day to go out and play a little Frisbee, I took those days. And dude, I still graduated.
If we're gonna sit and dissect like some stupid poetry book that like I already have like read through and like I know exactly what the stupid teacher's gonna say, and it's sunny outside and I can sneak in 9 holes, I'm sneaking in 9 holes. Sorry. Yeah.
So see, we're very empathetic towards Bobby Wagner. This makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Bobby's doing the right thing.
He's doing the right thing, and he's made it known the type of deal that he wants to. He wants to be paid as the top linebacker in the game. And is that so wrong?
Well, considering he's the top linebacker in the game, it's hard to argue with.
I feel like you're coming at a pretty strong position of negotiation.
Yeah.
He can look at CJ Mosley and go, is CJ Mosley the best linebacker in the NFL? No, he's not.
No.
Okay. I want more than him.
Right. I mean, he doesn't have an agent, so he's doing this all on his own. It's really complicated. Like,
super complicated. So, that must be really hard for him to get that point across to the team.
Right. So that guy got that much. I'm better than him. I'm going to need more than that.
Wait, this number that you're showing me, this is less than that number. Are you saying that I'm not as good as him?
Or the same, or barely more.
Right.
So, yeah, I think the hardest part about representing yourself as a player is that when you go into that contract negotiation, you don't have the agent shielding you from what the GM says.
Correct.
And goes back and forth within. So it can get personal. And I think that's the biggest danger to representing yourself. But if you're in a negotiation, which I feel like this one probably is, where they're both like, yeah, we really want to get this done.
Yeah.
And you're going back and forth and you're going back over the finer things and just, kind of going through it. It'll be fine.
Well, and they asked a lot of those questions, too, of Bobby Wagner. And, he's like, yeah, I can handle it. If it starts to get personal, that's not going to bother me.
And we'll see how true that is. But I tend to believe that he is the personality type that he could do that. Now, if it was like when Sherman was representing himself,
that might be a little harder.
I think he would take it personal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just the way he's wired. I'm not saying that's wrong, and that's not a detraction against him. It just I would feel he'd be a lot like me. I'd take it personal.
You probably need an agent.
Exactly. And that's just, there's different personality types. That's all.
Well, one thing that I've found out here recently, listening to people talk about who has an agent, who doesn't, because there's very few people that go into negotiations without an agent. Mm-hmm. But I heard Larry Fitzgerald has done all his deals.
Yeah.
And to me, that makes a lot of sense. Like, smart dude, has that kind of temperament. He could handle it. He's been able to negotiate well for himself. Nobody talks about how well Larry Fitzgerald's done for continuing all his contracts in Arizona.
Yeah, well, I think he does need an agent because somehow he keeps ending up in Arizona.
Right.
I think that's the part where he's screwing up here.
Well, he needs an agent to advocate for him. Like, you can do better, dude.
I recently found out that him and John McCain were good buddies at one point.
Huh.
Yeah. He was like a pallbearer at his funeral.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
Yeah. John McCain should have stepped in and been like, Larry, I know we're both from Arizona and everything, but maybe go play for a winner.
They got lucky that one year and went and lost to the Steelers. But other than that, it's been rough for Larry.
Well, yeah, he's a Cardinal.
That's too bad.
It's funny, though, because you're starting to see this is also the season of lists. The list season is upon us. We're getting all these, who's going to finish where and what divisions and who the best quarterbacks are and who's the best of this and, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And just reading some of the articles of how people see the NFC West shaking out are pretty freaking funny.
Yeah, I think my favorite list that I saw was seeing that Russell Wilson didn't make it into the top 5 for Kurt Warner's top 5 quarterbacks going into 2019.
So that one was kind of hilarious to me because I read the headline and then I read Warner's response. He's like, yeah, Russ was number 6.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, so he just had Ben flopped above him. Do I disagree? Sure. I mean, I honestly, like I heard Cowherd kind of go through the quarterbacks the other day and breaking them down. And I've seen Mike Sando do this too, like throughout the years. I like the idea of like the tiers.
You
like,
put them in tiers. Yeah.
Here are your top tier quarterbacks, right? Whatever order you want to put them in, that's fine. Here's your second tier. Whatever order you want to put them in, that's fine.
Right.
Like, because everybody's got their own cup of tea. That's fine. But yeah, I don't think that was a big snub of Russell there.
I think the biggest thing of it was that in the short video clip that they put out on social media, was not even seeing Russell Wilson on the list. And hearing from some people that said, well, it was just an alphabetical order and Russell was on the bottom because Tom Brady's name wasn't on the list either until the very end when he picked the top one. It seemed kind of curious to me, too, because I just saw the clip. I didn't see it live on TV. So I think most of the outrage came from Twitter, which is weird.
Yeah, that's odd. I mean, that's a place of well thought and reasoned conversation.
Generally,
Twitter.
Yeah, that's where all the great ideas come from.
Absolutely. All in 140 characters or less.
Oh, yeah. Hey, no, they're up to 280 now.
What?
It's a whole new world on Twitter, Adam.
So you can go from completing a quarter of a thought to 3/4 of a thought now?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Wow. Technology is amazing.
Bringing up Russell Wilson, though, it does kind of contrast how negotiations are going with Bobby Wagner in comparison to how Russell Wilson's contract was negotiated, right? Mm-hmm. Because so much of Wilson's contract, and maybe a part of it is just a symptom of him being a quarterback, Bobby Wagner not being a quarterback. But it seemed like there was so much more negotiations through the media. Maybe that's a part of it too, based on the type of agent you have. And with Bobby Wagner not having an agent, maybe that a lot of that nonsense just doesn't go out.
So I think it's a combination of those things. And then also, too, the idea that the national media has never paid attention to Bobby Wagner, ever.
Yeah.
His name's not Luke Kuechly, right. And so they don't pay attention to him.
Is that an East Coast thing? Because Ray Lewis, he got all kinds of attention.
Well, so I've heard a few arguments. One is that it's a East Coast, South Alaska thing, that one of those, like he plays in South Alaska, so nobody cares. And the other that I've heard, and I mean, I don't know, is that it's a race thing.
Yeah, well, that's why I considered Ray Lewis, because he was such a big deal.
It doesn't feel like that to me. Let's put it that way.
A race thing?
Yeah.
It seems like more of a South Alaska thing. Not that I'm an
expert, but
it also, Bobby Wagner isn't necessarily the type of personality that Ray Lewis was, and I'm glad for that.
Yeah, a little less conspiratorial murdery.
Yeah, I'm glad Bobby doesn't have any of that, swarming around in his sphere of influence. He was found innocent. That probably was mean and slander. No, I don't think we attributed it directly to Ray, though. It's kind of in his, like I said, sphere of influence. Yeah, something happened with around him, which, But maybe he did something, allegedly. Possibly. But yeah, no, Bobby not involved with any of that. He's not a big talker, and he's not even that flamboyant on the field. I mean, he has been a little bit more so the last 2 years, like with his celebrations and things like that. But, just a guy, he's a lunch pail guy, man. Brings his lunch to work and he gets the job done. And he does it the best at his position. And I hope to God they hurry up and just pay this guy and we can all move on our merry way. I hope so, too. It brings me to a guy that I don't know if we talked a little bit about him on the last show with Doug Baldwin moving on. And it seems like people around the team are talking about Doug Baldwin moving on. We've even heard from Russell about who he thinks is going to replace Doug Baldwin, which I thought was interesting because he listed about 8 receivers. Yeah, how Russell, whenever he's asked about any particular one player, then he just lists like the entire depth chart at wide receiver. Yeah, I feel like he goes home and just goes over the depth chart for an hour every night and just drills it into his head just so he can rattle off names as fast as possible. He's always done that. That's part of it. And it works, man. It's part of his management style. I get it. Who's going to replace Doug Baldwin? Well, Tyler Lockett's really good. And this new rookie, DK Metcalf, wow, he's pretty exciting, too. What a physical specimen.
You can't overlook Jerron Brown, even though he didn't have a lot of touches last year. I mean, he's a heck of a ball player. And
Amara Darbo's out there and putting in the work this offseason.
Yeah, and I mean, look, and David Moore made so many big plays for me this last year. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see him have 150 catches this year.
And I see we're playing the name game, and we've gotten to the point where Russell is still able to go beyond us because he got to guys on the depth chart that I didn't even know were on this team.
That's how he does it.
He's really good at it.
You do hear a little bit of buzz from the coaching staff and everything about using Jerron Brown more.
Oh, and Keenan Reynolds. That was the other name. He brought up Keenan Reynolds' name.
Oh, and I'm sure he brought up Gary Jennings.
No, well, Jennings hasn't been out there with a hamstring. I don't think he mentioned Gary Jennings' name. I think he mentioned Malik Turner before he said Gary Jennings.
That's funny. I actually think Gary Jennings is going to be the rookie that has the most impact early.
Maybe it'll be on special teams because one of the things that we heard from Pete Carroll in the press conferences is that they really are looking to try and move Tyler Lockett exclusively into his wide receiver role and find some other dudes for special teams. Now, he does recognize that it's going to be tough, particularly with the punt returns. I do think that they have penny tagged for the kickoff return duties now at this point. But it sounds like from Carroll that finding a punt returner to supplant Tyler Lockett is going to be tough.
Yeah, and I would be thrilled to not see Tyler take that extra contact throughout the game and the season. And to save him just for being the offensive weapon that he is. The kid from Oregon, Hugo, right? Like, he's got some punt return in his background. And
he does.
He actually had a couple that, you watch some of his stuff from the past and you're like, wow, like that doesn't look like his 40 time says. He looks football faster.
Which is good. I think I actually prefer football fast.
Well, yeah.
Than actual 40 time fast.
Yeah, Jerry Rice didn't exactly have a blazing 40 time, but yet outran everybody on the football field still somehow.
Steve Largent wasn't a burner, but yet he could find ways to get separation and make dudes miss.
Right. And had amazing hands.
That helped too.
Yeah.
A lot of guys injured, though.
Really?
Hearing Pete Carroll go down like the injury list. Yeah, well, like Chris Carson had some kind of knee surgery thing that he was getting taken care of.
Yeah, it sounded like a cleanup. I'm not concerned.
Nas Jones apparently had a tender knee. Jaron Reed was working through some kind of issue.
Yeah, this all sounds like little stuff, though. Like, none of this. I mean, it's not like you're hearing reports like you do out of, say, like Washington, where Reuben Foster blows out his entire knee because of karma.
Right. You think that's what they put on the injury report? Injured and then like in parentheses? Karma.
Yeah. If they didn't, they ought to have.
Yeah, it was mostly just minor things. Trey Flowers was out, death in the family. McDougald had some off-season surgery.
Mm-hmm.
Delano Hill's a couple weeks. I think I heard him, Pete Carroll, mentioning that Hill won't be back until actual training camp timeline.
Mm-hmm.
I think for some of these guys, particularly with veterans, like, well, even Jaron Reed, who's going into a contract year. It's hard to tell whether it's like legit stuff or it's a guy being like, yeah, I know my spot's good on the team. I'm going to go ahead and minimally participate.
Well, I think it's as legit as like, hey, look, this is a little sore. If it were game day, could I play? Would I play the rest of the season on this and not really worry about it? Yes. But right now, that's not the point. The point is to get right. And let me know by preseason week 3 if these guys are ailing pretty good. And if they are, now I'm worried. But, right now in organized team activities, no, I'm not worried.
You got to nail the acronym OTA.
Yeah, I know. I said it out, so I sounded smart. Well, it sounds like Ziggy Ansah will never play for us, so that's great if you listen to media reports. Except for then you listen to people who know like medical things, like who we had on that one time was Dr. Chow. Is that right?
Yeah, Dr. David Chow.
Yeah, I saw a tweet from him. He's like, oh, yeah, that would be an unusually long time to come back from that sort of surgery. He should probably be ready week 1. I mean, somebody who knows about medical stuff and worked for National Football League teams. But Ian Rappaport says it's not going to be until Christmas, probably.
Well, his sources might be Lions fans, because Lions fans are very negative about the extent of Ziggy Ansah's ability to come back from injury. And maybe there is something to it, because hearing from fans, and Deion Jordan was kind of the same way, and news with him, suspended 10 games from the league for performance-enhancing substances, so probably will not be back with the Seahawks, but he was a free agent. And Deion Jordan for years kind of had that stigma attached to him too, like that injuries, like as soon as he had just a little tweak, it meant him not playing. But when he was playing and active, he could play very well. So I am kind of in a wait and see type of space with Ziggy Ansah.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, he's not going to miss the majority of the season or even like a quarter of the season.
With the current injury. Yeah, he should be back and ready to play if all goes well with his recovery.
Yeah, there's a lot of hand-wringing for no reason. I don't know. I mean, maybe he's the defensive end version of CJ Prosise. I don't know.
He did have a couple good years, though. So he has that ahead of CJ Prosise.
Right. Yeah, it's there. There's a track record.
He's actually done some performance on the field. And whereas Prosise, we're still waiting for that. But
so are there any other veterans out there that you'd be interested in seeing, like, say, Gerald McCoy?
I would be interested. It sounds like he's not on... The Seahawks aren't on his radar.
The Seahawks aren't on his radar, or he's not on the Seahawks radar?
Apparently he had some list of teams that he wanted to go to, and the Seahawks weren't part of his plans as a team that he's planning on visiting.
I don't know, man. I'd make a few phone calls.
I want Gerald McCoy on the Seahawks.
Yeah, depending on the money.
Well, sure. I mean,
I'm a little alarmed that the Buccaneers seem to think that Sue was an upgrade over McCoy at this point.
Well, I don't know if it's an upgrade. McCoy was set to make $13 million, and they get Sue for a little over $9 million. And so is Sue going to be a $4 million, or is McCoy going to be $4 million better than Sue?
No, probably not.
But the thing is, McCoy now is going to go to another team, and he's not going to get 13.
He's probably going to get like 9 or 10, right?
I would think so.
Yeah.
If I were him, I would want more than what Sug just got.
Yeah, I think we can carve out that kind of cap space. Let's do this.
I like the idea.
Yeah, you can never have too much talent in the trenches, man.
Do you think Jaron Reed would be a little bit miffed about it, though? You think he'll be okay with it?
Not if he gets paid. He doesn't care if he's getting his cheddar, too.
Yeah, hearing from like G. Scott of Cairo Radio, he makes it sound like Gerald McCoy doesn't really have any interest in Seattle.
So I guess we'll have to look for other help to get after the quarterback. You know, maybe Shaquem Griffin coming in and coming off the edge, doing some of those college things that he did.
Well, Pete Carroll did say that Shaquem Griffin was spending some time on the edge in practice now, and then you have Jacob Martin coming back this season. It was interesting hearing from Pete that Martin was having trouble keeping his weight up toward the end of last season, but now kind of expected. And that could be not unusual, I guess, for a rookie, right? Getting toward the end of the season and not knowing exactly how to keep his body right for an entire NFL season. So maybe that was something that now going into year 2 will allow him to have a little bit more success even. But going back to Shaquem Griffin, it seems like they're trying to find a better use for him than what they saw for him last year. And I think it was even kind of curious to me why they didn't use him as a pass rusher more last year based on what he had so much success with in college.
Yeah, it was something he had a knack for. Definitely shows up on tape, from his college days. And boy, it'd be really cool to see him come through as an edge rusher and have that, be a little role that he carves out in this defense. Because I'm not sure it's ever going to be as a full-time linebacker. But I do think he has, with that speed, like he has the tools to be successful. It's just a matter of finding what it is that he does do well. And this is something that he did very well in college. And if they could unlock that, man, that could be a huge bonus for this team.
Well, and it does make sense too. Them going out and drafting some depth at linebacker, having Michael Kendricks and KJ Wright still on the team. Barkevious Mingo doesn't look like he might go anywhere anytime soon. So now that they have that kind of depth, it allows them to say, that Shaquem Griffin, he might be one of those guys that has such an impact on special teams where you go, okay, well, we need him for this. Now, where's some of the other packages where we can use him and as kind of a bonus in other parts of the game? And if that could be at pass rush every once in a while, maybe that's where he fits in.
Yeah, maybe.
And for a guy that you draft in the 5th round on a rookie salary, true. Maybe Barkevious Mingo is a guy that, he's also, heavily into special teams, but maybe not playing so much time on the field. Maybe he does. That's some salary cap savings and ultimately where Shaquem makes it versus where Mingo doesn't. But I feel like the team has they have a luxury of being able to move some guys around now.
Yeah, it feels like there's a ton of depth and flexibility at the linebacker position at this point, and especially if Kendricks is able to play for the year.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty loaded group, and I'm super stoked to see what that can be for the Seahawks coming into the season. For the first few years of this Pete Carroll era, it was all very much defensive back driven, and you saw at the beginning of starting with last year that it became very much a linebacker driven team. And it'd be super cool to see what this group could do all together.
Well, linebackers, defensive line, there's still some questions. I think both you and I would like to see some additional help there, but maybe the team feels like they're pretty good in that spot too.
Well, they must. And really, you're banking on a higher draft pick, starting to play up to his pedigree like Rasheem Green, right? And Poona Ford to continue on his ascension, Jaron Reed to continue to be the force that he's brought himself to be. And then you've got your veteran stopgaps that come in and help just plug the run with Al Woods and players of that ilk. So, they're not, the cupboard's not bare there by any stretch of the imagination. It may not have the star-studded name recognition that some Seahawks teams in the past had, but it doesn't mean that they don't have the guys to get it done.
Well, I know we want to kind of put out just a little bit shorter show this week, and I think, though, that we can't move on to close this out until we recognize the fact that Geno Smith now signed by the Seahawks, where that was not the case last time we talked.
It's official. Lock it up. Geno. So, hooray.
I like the part of the press conference where they were really grilling Pete Carroll on what Geno Smith, what kind of things that he brought to the team.
Well, I'm starting to wonder if they only bring in guys that they know Russell would get along well with in the quarterback room.
Oh, that could be.
Maybe Geno's just a freaking cool dude. Maybe getting punched in the jaw was literally not his fault.
It could be.
I mean, I don't know. I heard he didn't pay up on a bet or something like that, and he got punched in the jaw. But, maybe there's more to that story. I don't know. Maybe he's a really cool dude, and he
might be a cool dude.
Yeah, he's just going to jive well in the QB room, and that's why they brought him in. He takes great notes. Yeah,
I hear all that consternation about bringing in somebody to really challenge Russell Wilson. Who are you going to bring in that's going to provide any kind of competition who is out there and who's going to make under, I don't know, $2 million? Because when you're paying a quarterback.
Oh, there's a big caveat. I was like, Mahomes, Tom Brady. Those are the guys, right?
Yeah, right. There's a few guys out there, but I feel like those guys, they might be asking a little bit too much money and they may not want to take the backup role to Russell Wilson.
And, might possibly be under contract with another team.
I think both of those guys are, as it turns out. Yeah.
No, it's difficult to think that there's going to be a backup that is brought in that can push Russell for the starting position, for sure.
Yeah.
But you definitely need a competent backup to be able to come in for 2 or 3 games and try to float the ship. If you do, heaven forbid, have to play without Russ for a couple games until he gets back. I mean, that's all you're looking for.
Yeah, I can tell it chokes you up a little bit thinking about it.
I really just threw up in my mouth thinking about it is really what the problem was there.
Oh, and what else we should do is I should put out a correction because you were right. I was wrong. Farrah Fawcett did pass. It was Morgan Fairchild. Morgan Fairchild was the name I was trying to come up with last week of the celebrity chefs.
Yeah, I still don't understand how those two people could get confused in your head. They're completely different.
They're completely different, but kind of the same.
No, absolutely not. I will not let you get away with this whatsoever. That was a terrible flub by you all the way around.
Morgan Fairchild, blonde in the 70s, was on Dallas.
Blonde. That is the only thing they have in common. They had totally different careers.
I'm not super familiar with it, but I messed up.
No, you're clearly not, because you thought she was still alive when she's been dead for like 10 years.
I didn't realize she passed on the same day as Michael Jackson.
That's right. I knew there was something about when she went that was, significant.
That's what it was. I blame the king of pop.
Michael Jackson.
Yeah. He overshadowed it for me. I would have remembered had it been on a different day.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things to blame Michael Jackson for. Add that to the list.
Add it to the list. Hey, one Michael who's still alive and has done nothing wrong as far as I'm concerned. Mm-hmm. In fact, has only done things right. Our member of the flock, Michael, he gave us a raise from $1 to $5.
Dude, seriously?
Yeah.
See, that's what good Michaels do.
Exactly.
He's a good little flocker. That gets him in the Pick'em League too, which is super cool.
That's true. That's true. And Michael's coming out for the Saints game, I believe.
Oh sweet. Yeah, week 3. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, Becca's coming. She threw in a one-time $105 donation too, along with her Seahawks tickets for the game and the Saints.
Well, that was very sweet.
I know.
Definitely not necessary, but always appreciated for sure.
Absolutely. It's going to be fun.
There's a lot of little flockers I have yet to have met in person, because you get out to a couple more games than I do, because I usually work weekends. Is really what kills me. Yeah.
And we have some people coming in from out of town too, so this will be fun.
Heck yeah, man.
DCH is coming up.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the DCH.
Annalisa is coming. This Saints game is going to be a good time.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to do with a frown, because we're going to beat the pants off the Saints, which is going to be awkward because then they'll have no pants.
I don't know. According to that ESPN writer that said that said the Seahawks are going 6-10, he did not have the Saints game down as one of the Seahawks' 6 wins.
Yeah, he also had them losing every single road game.
Right. Every single road game.
Right.
Which kind of makes 6-10 sound pretty good then, because that's 6-2 at home.
Yeah, go 6-2 at home, but loses every single road game.
Right.
Tell me where that logic matches up there.
It does not compute.
No.
Unless maybe Russell doesn't travel this year. Maybe Russell comes down with such a significant health issue that he's forced to only play home games.
So basically what the Seahawks have decided to do is they didn't bring Geno in to be the backup quarterback. They brought him in to be the road quarterback.
He's the road quarterback.
That'd be the only way this prediction comes true.
And this ESPN insider has some kind of inside knowledge of what's going to happen this next year.
That's amazing.
And it's an incredible prediction if true.
Yeah, the silly season is among us, man. I saw a lot of those, lists and stuff coming out, and, a lot of people saying that, well, boy, Seahawks will be right around 500 this year. Like, okay, why?
Yeah.
Nobody has any reason. They just all seem to think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. Right around 500. Well, they probably are one of those people who are like, well, every team's going to be right around 500. Because then you're kind of close to expectations for everybody.
Thinks there's far more certainty about the 49ers this year than there are about the Seahawks.
They're going to be great. What are you talking about? 49ers are going to be amazing this year.
Good Lord. Let me know when Garoppolo can play more than 4 straight games in a row, and then we can talk about the 49ers.
Yeah, other than his very first season with the 49ers, I don't think he's been able to go over 4, even in New England.
No, he hasn't stayed healthy throughout his entire career. So he's going to magically do it this year? Sure, okay.
Well, I feel as we go out the door, Adam, I do need to do at least one Better at Life segment, because this was important to me.
Okay, I'll do a quick do better first so we can end with your Better at Life.
Okay, let's hear your do better.
All right, and this is going to be really fast. I got a text from you today saying that your daughter was graduating.
Yeah.
She's like 4.
She's 5.
How can she be graduating? Is she Doogie Howser?
She's graduating preschool.
Is she going to college next year? No?
No.
It's preschool? You don't graduate from freaking preschool. All these graduations from grade to grade have become absurd. First it was you graduate high school. Then they started doing junior high graduations. Now they're doing freaking preschool graduations? Are you kidding me? How many trophies does somebody need? How many diplomas? This is absolutely absurd. You know what happened when we were kids? When we got done with preschool? We just went to kindergarten. You know what happened when we got done with 7th grade? We just went to junior high. It was amazing. You know how many times we graduated? Freaking once. That's how it works. This is stupid. So for preschool graduation, do better.
Maybe we just call it graduation when it should just be a celebration of an accomplishment of finishing preschool. Maybe it was my terminology that has you so messed up on this.
I've heard people talk about this, dude. Like, this isn't just you. And the thing is why do they need to be? I never got a party for passing the third grade.
You should have.
No, I shouldn't have. It's just that's what you're supposed to do. Do your job. Good job, kid. You graduated preschool. Graduated. Do your job.
We needed to celebrate when you could just keep your eyes open in class photographs. You had a hard time with that.
I had the struggles with such things.
See, there just needs to be some things that you celebrate when you're bad at them.
Yeah, exactly. I guess. I don't know. I think all these excessive graduations and parties and certificates of completion have gotten out of control.
If you go by the dictionary definition of graduation, it does seem like there's a diploma that goes along that's attached to the definition.
Correct.
We did not get a diploma or any kind of certificate of academic degree.
So it was a fake graduation on top of all of that.
I'm telling you, dude.
This sounds like a scam, dude.
If you need a reason to get together with a little kid and have cake and ice cream and Rice Krispie treats and cookies, I don't know why you would turn that down if that were an option. Because that sounds amazing to me.
Well, I guess. But, can't that be just Saturday?
Did you eat Rice Krispie treats this afternoon? No, I did.
No.
Boom.
Well, congratulations. I could do that on any day if I wanted to.
I am winning at life. You are not.
Maybe the next time I finish a wheel grind job, I'm going to give myself a certificate and Rice Krispie treats, and I'll graduate to the next mill.
On to better at life. And I'm going to hold Jason in Melbourne. He sent me an email saying that we need to explain this Skip Bayless business. And we probably are due for that. It is show 250.
Why people are better at life than Skip Bayless?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we can do this real quick, and it's going to require a little homework for him.
Okay.
But all he has to do is Google, I'm better at life than you on the YouTubes.
Richard Sherman.
You'll find Richard Sherman.
Yeah.
And you'll find him dressing down Skip Bayless after he was trying to, tell everybody Richard Sherman's no good. Richard Sherman comes on his show, makes him look stupid, and lets him know just how bad he is at everything. And not only that Richard Sherman is better at life than Skip Bayless. And so as an homage from show 1 to that, because it was beautiful and epic, Brandon came up with the segment, Who is Better at Life Than Skip Bayless?
It was probably that summer that... Yeah, because it was probably after the 2012 season that Sherman went on Bayless's show, because it was really before Sherman got to, really, it was before the best corner in the game, after the NFC Championship bit. So Sherman really wasn't the household name that he was at the time, but he knew he was good. And he had to make sure that Skip Bayless, this kind of put Sherman on the map for one of the very first times, telling Skip Bayless that he was better at life than him.
Probably the best insult ever hurled at Skip Bayless.
It's pretty solid.
To his face? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Going back and looking at it, I wish it had more of the bravado of I'm the best corner in the game. Like if he had that, emphasis behind it.
Yeah, you're not even the best writer in Dallas or something like that is what he told him. I don't remember.
No, it was very, it was more of the tentative Richard Sherman than the super outspoken Sherman.
It might not have been as loud, but it wasn't lacking in confidence.
Right.
Let's put it that way.
Okay, that's a good way to say it.
Yeah.
My better at life this week is for Jason Jenks of The Athletic, who wrote an article kind of profiling Doug Baldwin and the type of emotions that Baldwin's dealt with throughout his career. And if you don't have access to The Athletic, there's probably places online like Reddit where you can go and find it and read it. But there was one thing in particular, Adam, that jumped out at me from this article from Jason Jenks of The Athletic. And it was just in the very first few sentences of the article, too, where we learned that Doug Baldwin has koi fish in his backyard, and 4 of those koi fish named after the Golden Girls.
You gotta be kidding me. Is this a true fact?
It's a true fact. Doug Baldwin has koi fish named after the Golden Girls. And for Jason Jenks for letting us know that very important fact and just making my day. Jason Jenks, better at life than Skip Bayless.
That's hilarious. Well, Yeah, maybe listeners don't know of your affinity for the Golden Girls or Pinterest thoughts that you have an affinity for the Golden Girls, because there was a time there when they just kept showering you with Golden Girls stuff.
Yeah, it was always B. Arthur photos that, Pinterest sent me emails saying, you might like this. Right. And it was, either B. Arthur
Maybe
photos.
That's why. Maybe Doug Baldwin was pinning Golden Girls stuff on his Pinterest, and since you like Doug Baldwin and the Seahawks, that algorithm tried to pull that all together and thought you must like the Golden Girls too.
And now I feel that much more connected to Doug Baldwin.
Well, you'll feel even more connected to him when he comes back about week 11.
And with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.